certainly commend, not just for ourselves in Baton Rouge, but for the state of Louisiana as well. Our great state is at a crossroads. We stand at the threshold of great opportunity or perhaps disappointment. God has richly blessed us. We have great natural resources, perhaps more than any other state in the Union. And yet what we need is a steward who not only knows how to protect our environment and move us forward, but to provide jobs for our people and education for our children. There is no better person suited for that job than the man who has fought the battle for the past 4 years. And as he has said in his own commercial advertisements, now is not the time to turn the clock back. It's not been easy, and it will not continue to get any easier. The battle will be difficult because there are those who simply don't want to change. But there's one thing that can be said about Governor Buddy Roemer. He knows what's right, and he's willing to fight for it. He's given Louisiana its integrity back. He's given us our hope back. He's given us a future. And if there was ever a time when we needed to continue to fight, not just for the governor, but for ourselves, it's now. It's my pleasure to introduce to you the man who's given Louisiana its pride back, the Honorable Governor of the great state of Louisiana, Buddy Roemer.
Thanks, Richard. I'm honored by your words and, more importantly, your sentiment and feeling, and I appreciate you being here. It means a lot to me. Thanks. I want to thank two other special people. Everybody's special. Two really special in my lives who are here. Two of my children. The pretty one is my daughter, Caroline. Caroline's been with me every stop for the last 3 days. Wow. Great, honey. And my son, Chaz, who's been with every stop, except the last one in Lafayette. He went to get a haircut. Did you get one, son? But I'm pleased. Dakota has made the choice for baseball this afternoon, and his priorities are correct. But he's here in spirit, too. I want to thank each of you for coming, and we'll make, with your permission, a short statement about my feelings and where I am. Of course, I grew up on a farm with 4 brothers and sisters, a good mom and dad, a couple hundred miles north of here. Learned a lot of things on the farm, values that I keep with me every day. Hard work, honest effort, the courage to admit I made a mistake. I've had to do that a few times. But one of the things I learned from my mom and dad at an early age was the appreciation of reading. And my favorite author was Robert Frost, an American poet, and he wrote a poem called The Road Not Taken. And in that poem, he talked about the choices in our lives. Oftentimes, it's a choice between a road that seems to glitter with gold and to be easy, and is traveled by many, as compared to a road that seems tougher, harder, requires more courage, harder work. But if you travel that road with honor and respect and courage, the rewards are great. In 1987, the people in this state chose the road less traveled by. Now, we were brought to tears by that decision. It was a courageous one. We said then this would not be easy. It would not happen with one speech or one politician. It would not happen quickly, but it would happen. That if Louisiana chose to go in a new direction and took its whole family, women and men, black and white, with it, we'd all be winners. I remember the headlines at that time. And the year that I traveled the state campaigning for this office, headlines of mass unemployment, financial bankruptcy, educational failure, environmental disdain, even political corruption. Now, I'm here today because I, like you, have a commitment that we will not go back. We will not turn the clock back. Our children's future cannot endure it. Our conscience won't permit it. I don't think Louisiana's going back to the days when it had the highest unemployment rate in America. When our biggest two exports were jobs and our children. I don't think Louisiana's going to go back to the time when we took for granted the air we breathe and the water we drink. And I don't think Louisiana's going to go back to the days when money ruled our politics and often our politicians. When the interest of our state and the people of Louisiana, sometime, someplace, were second to the interest of a few. I don't think Louisiana's going to go back to the dark days. 4 years after those headlines, we've made progress. Thanks to your courage, your patience, we've started the road. Now, change and progress are not easy. I'm personal witness, and I can give personal testimony to that. When I was elected, of course, I was, figuratively speaking, 6'4" and weighed 235. Change is not easy. We've won many battles, and we've lost some. But fighting for the principle of progress and fighting for change to benefit our children is worth fighting for. I came today to say, I will not back down. Now let me be my usual self, brutally honest. All the problems have not been solved. Much work remains to be done. What we have achieved is progress, but it's fragile. Now I'm a farmer. I can't help it. I always will be. And you plant and you harvest. But the size of the crop is determined in between. Can you take care of it every day? Our progress is fragile, but it needs tending. We've planted new hope, new plans, new ethics, and a new balance. The crops are growing, but they are young. As I see them, the crops are vulnerable to apathy, vulnerable to ignorance, to racial divisiveness, to political demagoguery, to nostalgia, to laziness, to the avoidance of the truth. We must tend our crops. It's the hardest part of farming. It's the hardest part of raising a family. It's the hardest part of building a state. We've planted better schools. We've planted more jobs, cleaner air and water, honest government. I'm asking today for something real special. That's before we harvest. We've got to make another commitment to see the crops in. I'm committed to continuing the change. And I've come today to ask you to look me over and stand with me and support me in re-election to governor of this great state. I need your help. I need your vote. I believe that we can finish the job that we've started. I believe that we're closer now than ever before. Now I'm going to look for just a moment at some accomplishments of which I'm proud. Now I know as a Methodist I have to be careful with pride. It could be a sin. Louisiana's unemployment rate has been cut dramatically over the last 4 years. Over 100,000 jobs have been created. Didn't know that. We've diversified our economy. It's fledgling. It's just starting. But it's happening. Out-of-state businesses now look at Louisiana with interest, where they once turned away with a smirk. Our state education system, once an object of ridicule, has begun to turn the corner. Classroom sizes are down so children can actually learn. Teacher pay is up substantially so we can attract and keep the best and the brightest to be our teachers. And student test scores are increasing. There exists still in Louisiana a clear and present danger to our environment. But Louisiana's begun the awkward, difficult, committed task of restoring balance with air and water. 4 years ago, we had a State Department of Environmental Quality that did not have 1 penny of state general fund money in it. Not 1 penny. We've made DEQ one of our top priorities to give it the resources that it needs to fight our enforcement battles. DEQ is now a watchdog, not a lapdog. And the message is clear. The message is clear. If you pollute, you pay. I'll continue to work with DEQ to make illegal polluters an endangered species in Louisiana. Give you a few facts. Discharges of toxic chemicals into the environment have been reduced 41% from 1987 levels. Shell dredging is banned in Lake Pontchartrain. People said that wasn't possible. Statewide recycling program has begun, and toxins released into our air are being cut dramatically. It'll take years to clean up our air and water, maybe decades. But I'm committed to instilling an environmental consciousness in our state that can be handed down to future governors and, more importantly, to future generations. Now, finally, as far as Louisiana politics is concerned, things have changed. The reason is that we've taken big money out of the campaigns. In 1988, I signed the Campaign Finance and Disclosure Act. We now have one of the toughest such acts in the nation. We needed it. Suitcases full of cash, contributors hiding in the shadows, special interests buying off candidates. That was the old way of doing things. We can't completely rebuild our great Louisiana until we clean up our politics. I'm committed to doing it. Now, there are some who don't like the new rules to the new Louisiana politics. They don't like the fresh breezes that blow down the old smoke-filled rumors that bring new candidates, new vitality, new spirit. And in my effort to bring about change to Louisiana politics, some have called me inflexible, right? Stubborn, unwilling to compromise. Such criticism is part of the job. I accept it. But I'm confident the people of Louisiana believe they're better served by having a governor who dares to stand up for deeply held principle than simply marching to the beat of the special interest groups or on occasion the legislature. I'll work with the new legislature you send me. In the current legislature, many members have been excellent team players. And they've been strong supporters of the new Louisiana. After all, the legislature as a whole has passed 7 out of every 8 recommendations that we proposed. The legislature does have an important role to play. I'll respect and honor that. But my approach is clear, from the farm to here. I will support the legislature when I believe they're right. But I am not afraid to stand up to them when I believe they're wrong. We've not been perfect by any measure, and I'm going to paraphrase Franklin Roosevelt and say that any mistakes we've made have never resulted from the faintness of heart or from the abandonment of moral principle. We have to keep those high dreams. In the next 4 years, I will emphasize some on a renewed basis, 5 or 6 specific areas. Educational excellence. New initiatives on positive evaluation of teachers. It must be done. It must be done right. But it must be done. On Louisiana 2000, in order to meet President Bush's national goals, on computers in the classroom, on improvements in VOTEC education, on alternative education, on literacy, on adequate funding for quality pay for our teachers. We need to keep doing it. And on the continued renaissance of higher education. Second, on environmental balance, we won't back up on wetlands protection, on offshore impact assistance, on recycling, on reduction of air toxics, on taxing of hazardous waste, on fine-tuning of environmental scorecard for industry, on tax breaks for cleanup equipment, on protection of fisheries, wildlife, shrimp and oysters, on crime. We've added thousands of new prison beds. Supplement pay is now 100%. Local support for law enforcement is stronger than ever before, and we pay a higher daily rate to keep our state prisoners. Federal anti-drug funds are being utilized. The profits being taken out of drugs with the forfeiture of assets law. Juvenile detention facilities are being built, and adult protective services for our elderly are being funded. We have and will continue to show compassion for the victims of crime. But to the merciless killers who prey on our law-abiding citizens, the Louisiana death penalty law will continue to be enforced. This state and this administration are committed to fighting crime. We must now provide local government with the tools to better do their job. We'll begin next year by asking the legislature to dedicate 25% of lottery proceeds to fight crime. If you can't walk your neighborhood, you don't have it. Welfare reform. We're one of the best states in America at doing it. We made a commitment years ago when the federal program first took shape that it was in the interest of every citizen of this state to take those on welfare and train them for a job. And as jobs become available, ask them to take it. I'm not saying we're best in America, but we're one of the leading states in America. We decided, as the old saying goes, it was better not to give a person a fish, but rather to teach them how to fish. Helping the less fortunate become self-sufficient is the greatest act of compassion we can achieve. Tax reform. Some restructuring has been accomplished, but much more needs to be done. We've established a wetlands trust fund, a transportation trust fund. We've eliminated the inventory tax. In order to attract jobs, protect middle-class families, keep rates low, and give Louisianians a choice, we must continue fiscal and tax reform. I will consult with the legislature on additional changes with the vote of the people required. Changes such as protecting the homestead exemption, but giving the people a chance to lower it for new school millages or for fire and police protection if they choose. And other changes such as making the franchise tax that we have in this state more competitive with that tax rate in our neighboring states. It means jobs. Transportation infrastructure, highways, seaports, airports, flood control. Thanks for your job, Neil. Unlike prior administrations, we've placed all gasoline tax revenues into rebuilding our infrastructure. More than 1,000 miles of highways are under construction as I speak. 72 airport improvement projects are either completed or underway. Because of improved management for the first time in our history, Louisiana's received more than $98 million of extra money from the federal government to go into infrastructure. That's more than any state in America except California. It means jobs now and in the future. Finally, daycare. Daycare is a vital issue in a new Louisiana. We've changed as the country has changed. Few developments in the past 25 years have been more dramatic than the increase in the number of women in the workforce. The number of working women more than doubled since the 1950s. We're not living in the 1950s. We live in the 1990s. And more of Louisiana mothers are now working mothers. And we must adapt. We will again ask the legislature to protect our children with minimal but necessary regulation and maximum penalties for flagrant violators in the daycare world. All of these issues, from infrastructure to education, when added to tourism, international trade, small business development, university research, and aggressive marketing, mean more job opportunities for our people. Now, in conclusion, when I look back at what we've accomplished together, I'm comfortable with the knowledge that we've built a conservative state government. A conservative state government, but a compassionate one. A government that is just, fair, accountable, and honest. A government that shows respect for women and men, black and white, fortunate and those less fortunate than we. A government that's learned from its past as we prepare for our future. Under our administration, yours and mine, Louisiana now ranks 4th in America among all 50 states in the percentage of women who serve as cabinet secretaries, and 1st in America in the percentage of minorities in cabinet posts. This policy of taking the whole Louisiana family on our journey will continue. The way I see it, now the way I was raised, and you should know this, is that you find what you look for. We've looked for merit in our cabinet positions, and I'm proud to say that we found it, including women and minorities. This policy is in the best interest of our great state. It's not in my hands anymore. Together we've done our best, and I'm proud of it. I'll be out on the trail every day, shaking hands and kissing babies. But I need you now. It's really in your hands. It's there for the women. There's no reason why we can't do it big time. I need a yard sign, a bumper sticker. I need you to talk to the people you work with, the people you go to church with, the people you visit with every day. And remember the lesson. You taught it to me. Anything's possible when we do it together. Together, we're building the finest